What's going on, everybody? My name is DJ Mel.
And this is DJ Honeycomb.
And you are listening to the sounds of First, coming to you from the wonderful podcast studios here at Waterloo Records. Rachel, let them know what's up.
Just moving and grooving.
That's
Every
it?
day is moving and grooving.
Yeah, I mean,
the details kind of escape me
Yeah.
right now. I always feel like it's like the same thing, but also very different. But, well, I do have to say that I'm very glad that Bad Bunny won Best Album. I'm not a big award show person, but I felt like that album was out for years, and I guess it was only out for 1 year for him to win Best Album. But anyway, I just watch snippets of the Grammys. That's kind of like my review of watching award shows these days. It's just watching snippets.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm kind of torn on award shows. I really
Sure, yeah.
am. I believe that, what people say and what people do at those award shows, I believe some of it's performative, and I don't really want it to be this podcast to be a discussion on whether it is or not.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I kind of paid attention to it, and yeah, I mean, come on, salute to Bad Bunny. You know what I mean? Especially, considering, where we are right now.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But I digress.
Well, with that being said, like I feel like there's whimsy that always needs to be in someone's life. I love whimsy. Today I'm wearing my Disneyland shirt because I have some family members that have worked for Disney. One is still working for Disney, used to animate for Disney.
Okay.
So, I have this big coffee table book of Walt Disney, how he started.
Right.
And I have a big coffee table book of Charles Schultz of Peanuts.
Okay.
And so they started things that just came out of thin air because people need some whimsy. With that, there's some profound lessons in the whimsy, but I just feel like, this is what I need is to kind of bridge the gap to just like everything that's going on in the world. Like, let's just have some whimsy. Like, let's think about like people with creativity and design and engineering and in this case, Imagineering. So that's kind of like been my through line in my life of just kind of like tapping out of like politics.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of whimsy, I spent the other night watching Michael Jackson's Bad video twice. The full length. We're not talking the one that goes straight into the song.
Yeah.
We're talking like the Scorsese, like we're talking director's cut
I
full length.
remember that. That was a thing. Yeah. Wow.
And it was just wow because, like Michael is, like at the beginning of the video, they're all leaving this private school, I guess maybe for Christmas vacation or whatever. And Michael's going down the steps and this random guy walks up and is like, hey, I just want you to know that I'm proud of you. And like Michael's like, all right, cool, And so, basically, he goes back to New York or whatever to go home. And then when he walks into the house, right?
Yeah.
No one's in the house. He walks into his childhood bedroom and which is wild. There's posters of like Luther Vandross and all this kind of stuff on the wall, which is cool,
wow.
Which is a trip. But anyways, he walks into the kitchen and there's this note and when he starts reading the note, there's a woman's voice like, hey, Michael, or whatever his name is in the movie or in the video. I'm at work. I'm going to be home late. Dinner's in the oven or something like that. Mm-hmm. That voice that is, reading that or whatever, the voice you're hearing is Roberta Flack.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did not know.
So
that's cool.
But anyways, it's just funny because Wesley Snipes is in the video, and one of his homies. And it was just funny because especially the part where, Michael's tripping and he's like, you ain't nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you hear the stabs, dun, dun, dun. And then they show Michael from the feet up and they show all these buckles and shit. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And I'm thinking that Michael was thinking that this would catch on and everyone would rock buckles. Like everyone, how everyone gravitated towards the Thriller jackets and the gloves and shit. No, dude, no one got into that.
I mean,
you know what I mean? No one wore buckles. You know what I mean?
That's like a Susie Sue stroke. Like I don't know about.
Yeah, and what ruined it? I think what ruined it for Michael was Weird Al's video. Fat.
Yeah, because I do remember Fat more than I remember Bad.
But anyways, I was just. I watched the video and the dancing and, Michael pulling out the vent, grill or whatever. And it was just funny to me, man. Everything about it, the dude on the roller skates and Anyways,
Tough guys, nothing but tough guys.
yeah.
You're like, is this tough?
They don't make 15-minute videos anymore. I don't think it's worth it, right?
Well, someone could probably, hopefully, do it and do something different. Everything is like short form. It'd be nice to do long form, extra long form.
But
10 Commandments long form. Like, oh my God, how long is this movie?
Yeah, and how I found out about about Roberta Flack was, the credits at the end of the video. I mean, they had credits like a movie. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, Mom, Roberta Flack. I'm like, what? Roberta Flack?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys saw this on my Instagram about Roberta Flack when she passed away, and it was basically less than a year ago. An old girlfriend of mine was Connie Chung's assistant in New York.
Okay.
And if you know, but Connie was married to Maury Povich, or they're still married. And so Connie and Maury live in the Dakota. And if you're familiar with the Dakota, it's a very famous apartment building. They filmed Rosemary's Baby.
Oh.
John Lennon lived there. He was shot in front of the in that building. But anyways, Maury and Connie basically bought an entire floor, and half of it is their home, and the other half is their offices. And Aubin, my old girlfriend, was their assistant for many years, and she would always tell me stories about just the wacky people that she would bump into, and Roberta lived in the Dakota, and so Aubin would always have to run errands for Maury and Connie, and she would always bump into Roberta Flack in the elevator.
Wow.
And every time Roberta's like looking at Aubin. Now, mind you, this is like years. This was happening for years. They would bump into each other in the elevator, and Roberta would look at her and go, like, "Who are you? Like, what are you doing here?" And Aubin's like, Miss Flack, I work here. I work for Connie and Maureen. And she's like, no, you don't. And it was always like that. I think personally Roberta was messing with Aubin just to mess with her. But anyways, I just always thought it was funny, and Aubin would always tell me stories about how, just like Barbara Walters, like crashing in and like just being Barbara Walters and being crazy or whatever. But Roberta Flack, she, but would bump into Roberta like every day in the elevator, and Roberta would act like, who the hell are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this was going on for years, and Ivan used to tell me about, Roberta's dogs and whatever. But anyways, but yeah, Roberta Flack in the bad video. If you didn't know,
Who directed that video?
Martin Scorsese.
Wow.
That's right. You said that, and I'm like, no, I must have misheard.
Yeah.
Nice. I think
I've heard of him.
Yeah, who is that guy? Goodfellas. What's Goodfellas? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? But anyways, let's segue to this week's guests, friends and family. We're really excited to have Scott Brewer from GSD&M.
Hey.
Welcome.
It's an honor to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, let them know what you do over there.
Yeah, longtime employee of GSD&M. I started as an intern. This is my 20th year in August.
Nice.
So a long run, kind of all the way through the different moves of buildings that we've had. And I'm in the creative department, so I started as kind of the guy who thinks up the ideas.
Nice.
For clients. Worked on everything from Southwest Airlines, BMW, currently running the Capital One account. So all the stuff with Charles Barkley and Sam Jackson that you see on like March Madness and stuff. We do all that. And so, now we kind of manage, myself and my partner, Ryan, creative partner, manage teams. So the creatives are what we used to do. But it's been a great run. It's an awesome company. It's kind of at the hub, what I call, of like this area of Austin, just right there off 6th and Lamar. Awesome place to spend 20 years for sure. You can just walk in and out the front doors and be at Waterloo in 2 seconds, be at Whole Foods spending all your your money. Love
are you tired of Whole Foods yet? Are you like, you know what, I've done it all?
It comes in waves.
Salad bar.
Like you go there for a while and you get burned out, or you realize, you you might be spending more than you need to for just every single lunch.
Yeah.
And then you find somewhere else. But no, that place couldn't be located in a better place
Yeah,
for GSD&M employees. They call it the cafeteria at GSD&M. You know,
wow, that's a good way of putting it.
That's like the best cafeteria you could imagine. Like, I don't care if you're in San Francisco working at Google or whatever. It's like we have the Whole Foods headquarters diagonal from us.
God, that's a good way of putting it. For me,
it's insane.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know about you, Rachel. When I worked here, man, dude, I've said this many times. I'm top 5 worst employee. You know, I'm on that list of the top 5 worst employees at Waterloo Records, and I would just stay at Whole Foods. I would just hide out in there.
Where would you go?
Okay,
Just look at labels. Like, what were you doing, Larry? Were you sitting down somewhere?
No, I mean, like, you know, when it was at the old location,
Yeah.
right, directly across the street from the record store.
Yep,
I mean,
yep.
before it was Caddy Corner, right?
Right.
I would just go there and I would just sit there in front. You know, there's those seats in front by the windows.
I remember.
There, and then at the new in the current location, like there's like this. I don't even know how to describe it. If you're facing the front of the store, right, on the far left-hand side, and you go inside, there's this elevated second story staircase that has this eating area
Yep.
That's
that kind of
right.
overlooks like
Yeah.
the floor, right? And you can see everyone shopping.
Yeah.
I just camp out there. You know what I mean? Like I'd be gone for like like an hour, and then everyone's like, "Dude, where have you been?" I'm like, "Dude, that was at Whole Foods, man." You know what I mean? Like,
Funny you mentioned the intersection, because that has always been sort of a source of old Austin to me. Like GM Steakhouse used to be right there
Yeah.
where like
Yes.
the Lobster place is right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
and Counter Cafe.
Yeah.
And through the window of some of those shots, you could see that it was just like car dealerships back in the day.
it was
Yes.
Ford dealership, whatever, and it was flat. So
Yep.
you could see downtown through that intersection. That's
right.
And I think it was Roy Spence from GSD&M who convinced John, the founder of Whole Foods, to kind of take over that intersection and really build it into what it became.
Yeah.
But that'll always be, I haven't been to the new, like, whatever that is, the lobster place, but Counter Cafe, I would sit in there and I'd look out the window and just like, yes, anything that has to do with Slacker or locations is like my jam. So
yeah. GM Steakhouse. I mean,
You had to walk through the
they'd
back
yell
of the
at you.
line to go to the
Yeah,
bathroom.
they'd
yeah, like
yell
Gus-
at you on the microphone.
yo, dude, Gus is classic, dude.
Yes.
Gus, the only place where you can get like a bacon, egg, and cheese and cigarette butt breakfast taco. You know what I mean? Dude's like smoking while he's cooking
right.
Totally.
food.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, dude was just salty. He was just a
Yeah.
salty dude. But hey,
It's hard running a restaurant, even if it's a 13-seater.
but if you're a legend like Gus, I don't think he's even alive anymore. But yeah, man, if when you're a legend like him, I mean, you can be salty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does 20 years at GSD&M feel like 20, or does it feel like 20 minutes? Does it feel like 4 years?
Man, that's a good question. It's
different
been
each day?
spurts, I would call it. It feels like, my badge that I have in my wallet is the same picture that I had when I walked in. And when I look at that, I'm
That's
like,
funny.
holy shit, that's 20 years. But when you're on projects and as you get older, your years just start blending together. And
They
I
sure
could
do.
say that it
Yeah.
seems pretty quick. 20 years is about half of the time I've actually been spent in Austin, known of Austin, came to visit Austin
Yeah.
in 86. So this is also that anniversary, since it's 2026, of visiting for the first time, falling in love with the city.
Nice.
Came back for undergrad in 90.
Okay.
And then, so 20 years of a proper job has doesn't feel like the whole span of knowing Austin, but it's
Right.
been an awesome run. It's been a really fun time, to
Yeah.
do stuff there. So.
So speaking of GSD&M
Mm-hmm.
and what you do there, do you have say in what, like, as far as like the music in the commercials?
Yeah, very
Do you
much
have like
so.
do you have like input?
Yeah. Sometimes it's driven by the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've worked with Weird Al, who you mentioned before we started the podcast.
Right.
We've worked with Taylor Swift on Capital One.
Mm-hmm.
So you know who you're working with. You know who the music is
Mm-hmm.
going into the concept. And then sometimes you're scoring a track after something's been shot. And that's always a process. And, sometimes you're doing original. Sometimes you're finding the perfect track to match with the footage. Me and my genre, I think, like a lot of people take advantage of their own wealth of knowledge and influence things in that direction. So like one of the great projects we worked on was a Super Bowl thing for Radio Shack. It was kind of their last Hail Mary as a brand in like 2013. And we had a great relationship with the client, and she wanted to go all in. And we came up with this idea where these two guys walk in for the Super Bowl commercial, and they're on the phone, and the guy hangs up, and he says the 80s called. They want their store back. And so the doors open on the front of the Radio Shack, and literally the 80s come in to ransack the store and take it back to the 80s.
Nice.
So the casting process at GSD&M on the wall was just me and everyone else working on that project, figuring out who was going to represent the 80s.
Right.
And it was just casting photos all over the wall. And when one person would say yes, we'd put it on a different wall. When somebody dropped, we'd reluctantly take it off. But it was like, how do you capture a decade of icons, you know?
Yeah.
So we would throw in like, oh, I know this hair band, or I want to get like Dee Snider from the Twisted Sister video where he spins, you know, and the kid gets thrown out the window. And like the one we really wanted was Pee Wee, and he was in, then he was out. So Pee Wee Herman didn't make it. But we had Hulk Hogan, we had Dee Snider, we had Cliff from Cheers. The weird musical influences were all over that. Loverboy was the track. You know, everybody's working for the weekend or whatever. It was so obscure that we even had, if you remember the 80s Quiet Riot album cover with the straight jacket, like that classic metal cover, even if you never listened to it, you've seen it at a record store. And we had the jacket and a random guy wearing it in the background of the bum rush into the store. And nobody even knows that that's what that was, except for us.
Wow. It was like Easter egg.
It was our Easter egg. Yeah. But it's fun. It's fun influencing and pulling from your past, you know, and that's what we actually do. Like you can only pull from your experiences as a creative.
That's true.
So all you're doing is sitting there, and hopefully you've filled yourself up with enough references and movies and cultural fodder that you get to repurpose it. At a place like GSD&M. So
And I would feel like the music from yesteryear is probably more thought about to use than a hit that came out, or a track that came out
like
a month ago, 6 months ago.
It's a weird thing that iconic music, for whatever reason, it's harder to find recent iconic music. Maybe it's the influx of just the mass of streaming, that even the best stuff comes and goes. It doesn't really have stopping power, maybe, like we lingered on stuff back in the decades era. But every time we're trying to come up with something iconic, it tends to be older. And
makes sense.
And also older stuff has resurfaced so much more. Like I have teenage daughters. They'll have like a Jerry Rafferty track on a playlist. And I'm like, how do you even know this?
Wow.
And like, then it's all been remixed. Every decade is now remixed to the point where they have access to everything, and it all bubbles up.
Yeah,
It's pretty fascinating.
I never underestimate, young folks, because, I've mentioned on this podcast several times where, you'll see someone or meet someone and you start talking to them and they're younger, and then and they mention something like, I'm into Blue Oyster Cult. I'm like, how do you know about Blue Oyster Cult?
Totally.
And it's like, and the kid will say, yeah, my dad used to listen to it, and that's why I like Blue Oyster Cult. I'm like, okay, cool. There was a recent thing with advertising and something going viral recently that I found really interesting was the Dr. Pepper thing. Are you familiar with this? There was this gal on TikTok.
Not Little Sweet.
Yeah.
What's up?
Not Little Sweet, the little Prince guy.
No.
I'm kidding.
There was this random gal. I think she has a pretty big following now. But anyways, she was like, I have a jingle idea for.
Oh yeah. Totally got that.
For Dr. Pepper.
And they used it.
And it went viral.
Yes.
And everyone on TikTok, all these music producers started remixing it.
Yes.
And just using her vocals or whatever. And it just took off. And it was just radio silence from Dr. Pepper. Just radio silence. I'm like, this is a huge missed opportunity for Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. Didn't they eventually? They eventually used it. Yeah.
They used it because I saw it at the national championship game.
Yes.
Indiana and Miami.
Yes.
I'm like, I was just watching the game, and there it is.
Yeah. It's really an interesting thing where you can't plan things like that super well. I mean, you can get lucky and kind of preparation meets opportunity with social. But when they happen for brands, I mean, brands just have to be ready and listening all the time now to make sure that they're on top of things like that. We've had several like that have happened, and the chicken wars thing with Popeyes that we kind of like instigated was just over the top. Like everything,
I totally forgot about
everything in
that.
the country just went nuts over the chicken sandwich at Popeyes, and we kind of sent the first tweet that launched that whole thing.
Nice.
Because it was just preparation meets the opportunity that night to send an @ to Chick-fil-A saying y'all good.
Yo. I totally remember that.
Yeah.
I remember trying, like, when that all blew up, trying to get a chicken sando was a struggle.
Impossible.
It was a struggle.
Yeah.
The only one that the only Popeyes is that it's near my house is over there on Ben White. Wait, is it Ben White? Yeah, it is Ben White, right? Manchac and Lamar or something like that. Yeah. Struggle.
Yep.
Struggle.
No, nationwide it was a struggle. There's a meme that's still all over the internet of the guy who's just exhausted sitting outside on the bench. This guy, Popeye's employee who's just got his like head in his hands because he's been serving chicken sandwiches all day.
His fingertips are numb.
Yeah. But we were doing things like sending certain key influencers, like I forget who, like maybe the Kardashians, Dwayne Wade, maybe in Miami, like people were posting that they were looking for the sandwich, and then they were getting corporate to send them directly like a sandwich and get them to, just be like, I got one. It's literally like a Nike drop.
They FedEx them a chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
What a big deal. God, I almost forgot about that.
When was that? Was that 10 years ago?
It was probably, like mid to late 2010s. Yeah.
So do you have like a Popeyes Platinum card where you can get a lifetime
That wasn't
supply?
my account. Shout out to the Popeyes team. Yeah, they did great on that project, and it was, we have a whole social department that's just tuned in all the time to trends and stuff like that, and they'll work with the more traditional brand teams to like point out things like that, and so it's always kind of a group effort. Yeah, but
So there was no music associated with that. It was just like it was. What I do remember is just straight up social media, like just frenzy. I can't tie in a like music or a song to that.
No, it's off topic, but it was a social thing. It was definitely not music driven. They probably had some commercials, just straight up commercials for the chicken sandwich, and they didn't do nearly as well as the, Twitter wars and all that kind of stuff and how viral everything went. But that's something. Sometimes it happens. You kind of have to use all the tools as a brand these days, and one of them's going to take off. Just a commercial can still do that, but a lot of times it's social content.
I'm forever curious about the process of selecting music for a commercial, right?
Yeah.
First, like by committee, picking a song, right?
Yeah.
And then going through the process of clearing it through publishing, through the band, right?
Yep.
Whatever. And just I can only imagine how much it costs. I mean, I'm sure it's not cheap.
It's crazy. It's the two-sided publishing and recording rights, thing. So you can sometimes find a cover that's cheaper than the original. If it's like a real OG song, a lot of people have covered it. If it's like a super pop star, clearly known for that person, it's up there because you're paying both sides of those rights to clear and stuff. But it just depends on, the motivation and the incentive for that being the perfect thing for that project. A song can carry a whole campaign if it's the right song for the right place, and then other times it's like probably not worth it compared to maybe the rest of the package of what's on screen and stuff like that. So,
I mean, I'm always thinking about the bag, making some money.
Yeah.
And
there's
and I'm sure there's some bands that are just like, dude, yeah, man, of course, please just use our song for a commercial. But there's some bands that are like, dude, I don't want to be on a tampon commercial. You know what I mean? I don't want to. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the the musical
time.
backdrop for a tampon commercial. You know, even though the bag is like heavy.
Yeah.
So there's times some of the coolest people we've ever worked with. We did a project with Slash a couple years ago, and that was clearly driven by us and our past.
Right.
But it was, he only had to do what he does. And that was his stipulation. I'm not acting as somebody other than what I do. And we just had him playing the opening to like Sweet Child of Mine in the middle of the commercial. And he was Slash. And that's it.
Yep.
And so you can get people like him with his own kind of like exactly what you just said. He doesn't want to be slanging weird products that don't fit his brand or whatever, even at this stage of his career. But when you can find the perfect thing where they're being themselves, it works out for everybody. And that was fun. That was a trip.
How old is he? What decade is he in? 60s?
They broke when I was in high school. So like, I guess he's probably 10 years older or something. Maybe he's like maybe late 50s, 60s.
I loved GNR back in the day.
Yeah.
Man, alive. But I feel like what I haven't heard a lot, and maybe this was, maybe there was one, you can confirm this. Beasties have been very protective of their music. And so has there been one time?
I remember one commercial, and it was fantastic use of the song for Girls.
Oh, yeah.
Because the original Girls was not really, that whole album, to be honest, I think the Beasties kind of were a little bit reluctant of License to Ill and the way that they were compared to the way they became.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they transitioned into a much more meaningful group of, guys. And Girls was originally kind of this flippant kind of track.
Yeah.
And then it was used for a product, and I can't remember the product or the website or whatever it was, but it was sort of a female empowerment company.
Oh, interesting.
And it was a bunch of young kids doing things like entrepreneurial things or whatever. And it was like the way they used girls in the spot changed the entire meaning of the song, which everyone loved, and the Beasties did themselves. We're like,
so they
that
said,
was like a redemption for that album.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And that was 100% my high school zone, was License to Ill and Paul's Boutique.
Yes.
Was our soundtrack for sure.
Yeah, License to Ill.
Yeah.
I'm giving you guys some homework. Yep. So after we wrap up here, hop on your phone and Google the scrap title of License to Ill. I can't even say what it is because it's so bad.
Sure.
It's terrible, but it's a wild title, but License to Ill, front to back.
Hits galore.
I mean,
every song was a hit.
It was every house party, every keg party in high school. That was the backdrop.
Yeah.
And so this was in the 80s.
Yep.
And you didn't grow up in Austin in the 80s.
I didn't. I was in Houston.
In the 80s.
Yeah.
So Houston was listening to Beasties.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Beasties came to Houston.
Just coast.
Beasties kind of had a weird transition as I was coming out of my like not clueless music into like very aware.
Yeah.
And they were coming out of sort of their mixed hardcore stage into rap.
Oh, yeah.
And they toured with Murphy's Law, who's like an old punk band.
Yeah.
And they played Houston as Murphy's Law Beasties, but License to Ill had already dropped. So they were doing that sort of She's On It era of like, a mix of like guitar-driven rap music, which was killer, and still is.
God, I almost forgot about Murphy's Law.
Yeah. Those were big. I remember that band.
I think they opened. It's crazy.
I think they have a track called Murphy's Law, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I do remember about that track, they have like a dog barking in the song. It's like Murphy's Law, and then maybe my memory's not serving me well, but that's the one thing I do remember about Murphy's Law.
Been Caught Stealing by Jane's Addiction.
That also.
Well, there's that too.
That'd be a whole playlist of songs that have dogs.
There's a lot of dogs barking in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. DMX, all that stuff. So
dogs barking.
Dude, that would be the illest mixtape. Like a playlist of just tracks with dogs barking.
Really
Been Caught Stealing, Murphy's Law, DMX. Man.
It's crazy though, in the 80s, like I'm talking high school, and I was there middle school too. I kind of moved around a lot as a kid, got to back and forth a lot overseas, got to middle school permanently in Houston, right around, I guess, 86 was when music really sunk in, for me and my friends and stuff. And that was crazy because a year goes by now and nothing really seems to change. Back then we went from like listening to heavy metal to listening to new wave in like
totally.
12 months. We're all totally different.
Yeah.
And 86 was where new wave hit, and that was still middle school, so not quite the high school era. And that was like, I know the overall theme of this is firsts or whatever for your
we
podcast.
we could talk about whatever, but I mean,
the first time I remember being at my buddy Carter Knowles' house, and his older brother Vance Knowles, who used to live in Austin back in the 80s and now is in Marfa. He runs Ballroom Marfa.
Okay.
Cool, eccentric, really interesting guy, but it was always an older brother or older sibling who kind of influenced us. And so Carter grabbed, and Vance wasn't there, but Carter grabbed The Queen is Dead, Smith's album, vinyl.
Okay.
And he's like, my brother just bought this. Let's listen to it. And he like put it on the record player and dropped the first song on that. And I was like, oh my God, like this definitely it was kind of like the Nirvana thing, as far as like Teen Spirit wiping out everything before it. And so when Queen is Dead, I heard that. And then we were just all in. Smiths, Cure, Depeche Mode, like all of it, that was our era through middle school into high school.
Wow.
And that summer was what I still call the best run of concerts that I've ever been to. It was like anyone who grew up in Houston remembers Southern Star Amphitheater was like the Astro World concert venue. And so when you were still too young, you got dropped off there. You went to the Astro World during the day, and then the concerts that were there at night. Depeche Mode, Black Celebration, 1 month, The Cure, Standing on a Beach the next month, and then the Smiths came to Houston, and we all went. We got dropped off, like 6 of my friends got dropped off on University of Houston campus as like 13 and 14-year-olds.
Wow.
Saw the Queen is Dead tour at Cullen Auditorium on U of H, and then coming out of that concert, we were waiting to get picked up, and we went around the back and we're just lingering around the bus, and we had like our almost famous moment from the movie where like the band came out, hopped in the bus and drove off, and 20 of us were just sitting there watching, and it's like insanely impressionable when you're that age, and that music means so much to you. So
you mentioned Head on the Door, right? Is that what you mentioned, right?
That was
the Cure record, right?
The Cure that they were touring on was called "Standing on a Beach." It was that one with the old man on the cover.
Yeah.
Head on the Door was right
Stranger.
before that, I think, and was equally an awesome album and influential to us. But that concert, for some reason, it was just the shirts were all that silhouette of Robert Smith with the guitar you still see all over the place. Like that was the tour.
Do you still have any of those merch items back in the day?
Man, I wish. I wish I had all my old skateboards, BMX bikes, T-shirts. All those things got thrown out when I was in college by my mom, probably.
You're like,
oh, that's
Mom,
upsetting.
no.
That is so
insane.
upsetting.
Even my vinyl that I early collected, just even at places like Waterloo or Sound Exchange or whatever, like I think I sold all that when I didn't think I'd listen to that music anymore, when I was too big for that music in college. And then all of a sudden I was like, what did I do?
Yeah, just regret.
Yeah, massive regret.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard of The Cure was the Head on the Door record.
Yep, same here.
And it was on the school bus. It was on a school bus.
Really?
When I was a kid. There's this guy, his name is Ben. I forgot his last name. But anyways, he was just, he had a Walkman or something like that. And he was just jamming out. I'm like, what are you listening to? He's like, dude, check this out. It's The Cure. Like, my sister's really into it, and years later I met, his sister, and he was like a total doll, total like new wave kind of doll. You know what I mean? She was just amazing. But anyways, and then I listened to it and I was just like, oh my God, I love this.
I know. Cause
like you were just saying before that, you just listen to anything and everything. You weren't really aware yet. You just I'm just gonna listen to whatever's being played on the radio, and then boom, you listen to that. It's like, it's also like for me when I first heard Run DMC, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
There was nothing like that before. Before that, I mean, there were some, maybe some novelty, goofy, hip hop songs here and there, but yeah, it's one of those moments where like anything and everything before that didn't exist after listening to The Cure.
Something
or
about
DMC.
the age where it hits you and the way that it hits you, and then this many years later, it's still nothing can really hit that hard.
Yeah.
Adolescence plus like The Cure, In Between Days video on 120 minutes is like,
oh yeah, with Dave Kendall.
Strong combination.
Yeah. So I think you were still in Houston around this time, but the club scene. I mean, even though you weren't old enough.
Oh no,
there was that Club 6400, Power Tools,
100%, dude.
Numbers.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm missing a few others, but
Energy before that when we were younger. Did you either of you grow up in
My
Houston?
husband's Scott.
No.
Scott.
Yeah.
He
What
grew up in Houston.
yeah.
He went
You
to
knew-
Energy.
yeah.
Yeah. What we were talking about this yesterday with Andy Langer about radio frequencies. On a clear night when I was a kid, I was able to pick up whatever radio station from Houston that was broadcasting the mix from Club 6400.
Oh yeah, and you'd record it. I recorded so many of those just
I
front to
know.
back on tapes, just live off the
Yes,
radio.
yeah.
Or what we would do is go to the clubs, and I have a whole era of going to those exact clubs. Like we started at Energy when we were too young.
Yeah.
Then caught the tail end of 6400 as we got older. Then Lizard Lounge hit, and that was like late night.
Lizard
Lounge
yeah.
in Houston. I know there was one in Dallas and one here, but like Houston was ours. And then Club Excess on Shepherd or Richmond. It was on Richmond. Was sort of that late night crazy. It had speakers that were so big you could walk inside of them, like the walk-in speakers.
No.
And it was.
This is a good idea.
It was like late 80s era of like industrial club music still around.
Yeah.
But also sort of like NWA and some like, club bangers starting to come in, like Express Yourself and sort of a Yo MTV Raps influence started showing up in the club. So we got kind of the best of both worlds there.
Yeah.
But we would go to the clubs, hear songs. You didn't have a phone to like record it or Shazam it or whatever.
Yeah.
So then you'd go to Record Rack.
Yes.
The next day on Sunday and go ask them what that was, or they'd have a list of like the Razor Made mixes and all that stuff, and you just go buy 12 inches.
So what
Nice.
intersection was near Record Rack?
It was near the Curve, I think. At least when I went, it was Montrose and something. I don't know, but they called it the Curve, where there was like cool stores and bars.
Wasn't there something like that on Westheimer as well? With like there was like a kind of like an S shape.
Yeah, and maybe it was. Does Montrose connect with Westheimer, or are they parallel? I can't remember. But anyway, it was right down there in the coolest area because I was in the suburbs, so everything took forever to get to. But like Houston actually has really cool parts, inside the Beltway.
Yeah.
And it's just a perspective thing. I guess it's like if you grew up here outside of Austin, you wouldn't realize all the stuff downtown. But I kind of grew up outside in Houston and then inside out here in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the last time I was in Houston, I went with a friend to Houston. God, it's almost been a year, which is crazy. Time flies. But we made an attempt to go to Trill Burgers, which is Bun B's joint.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was crazy. There was no parking. It was packed. We tried to get in, but I looked across the street. I'm like, that is the old Record Rack location.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I'm like, wow.
But that was
was
an influential place, but
Right.
closer to us, and we could skate to it. My buddies and I on a road called Stubner Airline or Veterans Memorial was Vinyl Edge.
Okay.
And that's still there, but they've moved down into that area around Rice. But it used to be up in Northwest Houston, and it was owned by a guy named Chuck Roast, who is a legend in Houston. He had a radio show called The Fun House on like college radio when I was in middle school, getting into late 80s again. And it was just noise rock and punk, and learned half my stuff off his show.
Nice.
And he's come to the record convention a lot here and still kind of brings stuff up every once in a while.
Oh,
but
wow.
Vinyl Edge is killer. Their shirt is even a hand-drawn Daniel Johnston doodle that he did for Chuck on a visit down to Houston.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's
their
cool.
T-shirts are killer
Yeah.
if you ever get down there. Yeah,
Oh, good idea.
yeah.
Record Rack. What
Yep.
was it? Yeah.
Don't mean to throw out a competitor to Waterloo,
No,
but like,
no,
it's all love.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely all love.
History.
I mean, yeah. We have mentioned several other record stores from in Houston in other episodes. But yeah, Record Rack is the one I do remember. If you were to if you wanted to get some front 242 12-inch or
totally Ministry.
Yeah, some Belgian new beat type
Yep.
stuff. That's where you went. You got the you got the imports.
Yeah,
That's where you go.
Still have a lot of those. I almost
Yeah.
brought some just to show y'all, like
You should
OGs, originals. Yeah,
You should have.
yeah,
So you were going to the clubs back then.
yeah.
And then you went to school.
Yeah.
You went to college.
I went to college. So the crazy story I have about my connection to Austin, growing up overseas, I had a good friend that lived over there. I moved back to the States. He stayed out there with his parents. They were still doing their thing. And when you get to like 8th grade and you're done with 8th grade, there's not really anywhere to go to school. So you go to boarding school.
Yeah.
So a lot of kids go to like Switzerland, to this place called Tassis. And then he ended up coming to St. Stephen's here, and that's a boarding school as well as a day school here over by Lake Austin. And so I was in Houston. He was here. He was going to be a freshman in '86. So that summer, my parents didn't want to drive me up here to like see him. So I grabbed a Greyhound. 14 years old, grabbed a Greyhound from downtown Houston to Austin with a skateboard and a backpack. I mean, I'm like, my daughter's 17 right now. I'm like, yeah, and another one's 12. And I'm like, there's no chance in hell that they're
There's no
taking
way
a
that's
Greyhound
happening.
somewhere. But I showed up here, and it was crazy because I got dropped off at the Greyhound, which was at Highland Mall, which has got graffiti all over it right now. But that was like the first steps into Austin for me, and this like land I'd only heard of. His sister picked me up. We spent the entire week, I think it was August '86, skating the drag, going to Bluebonnet Plaza, going to Sound Exchange. Just there's that old thing about like the blind Melon video where the girl in the bee suit finds all the other kids in the bee suits.
Yeah.
That was me, like in Austin. It was like conservative Houston, then all of a sudden like funky ass Austin.
Yeah.
And so '86 planted the seed, went back for all of high school, and then came as a freshman in 1990 to Austin, and I was staying at Jester, in the dorm with all the friends that I had from high school that were also at UT. And a movie opens at the Dolby Theater called Slacker.
Yep.
We got tickets. I know it was like super hard to get in for a while, but I think we waited a month or whatever.
Wow.
We go in there. The opening scene is Linklater on a Greyhound bus getting dropped off at Highland Mall.
Yes.
He steps out, and I got, goosebumps.
Wow.
It was serendipity. I was like,
It's like sliding doors.
this is like where I'm supposed to be. That is exactly how I started in this city. And ever since, I've always thought I'd bump into him. I haven't bumped into him in like 40 years or whatever, but
Which is wild.
which is crazy. Like, we both live kind of close to Hyde Park, Quacks, I know, like is a big popular place for him, but like, no, never run into him. But that was insane. And then 1990 just started the journey of like, loving Austin, exploring it. Still feel like there's places I haven't seen, all this amount of time.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
There
And
are
like,
plenty.
Yeah.
Were there any music venues that you started to kind of go to on a regular basis, or what was your favorite?
Yeah, 90s. So I was kind of in college, and obviously that was the focus, and we were doing college parties and stuff, and there would be bands that would play those parties. But then we always started obviously going to like Black Cat on 6th Street for the classic Little Joe Soul of like Little Sister, Joe Rockhead, and Soul Hat. 3 nights in a row every week was insane. Like great memories, great albums.
Yeah.
Soul Hat Out the Box is still time travel for me if I put that on. It's like 90s Austin to a T. And then obviously Liberty Lunch was the alternative to that. So that would be like traveling shows or a little bit more edgy stuff that we wanted to go see. Dinosaur Jr. type stuff. There's a band called Tripping Daisy that played there a lot that became Polyphonic. Spree. Saw freaking Dave Matthews there, like on a random like Wednesday when it was just, it was
Wow.
like people didn't even know completely who he was at the time.
Yeah.
So I think Liberty Lunch and Black Cat have the most meaning and like history and like take me back for sure.
Yeah.
But shoot, we went to Green a lot just to go see like the OGs like Jerry Jeff and whatever, Willie, whatever. Yeah, it's good times. Austin in the 90s was amazing. I'm still like, there's still like anybody who was in Slacker, any location from that era, anybody who you can meet, like, you know, or on Instagram who references things from that era is just an immediate, like, quick read for me.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a scene in Slacker where it's towards the end. You know the ending when there's a bunch of people in a convertible.
Oh yeah.
And
it's legendary.
And then they wind up going to Mount Benel and throwing the camera.
It's my neighborhood now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's crazy.
But the beginning of when they appear in the film, they're on Bolton Avenue.
I know.
And that's where I used to live for like
with the speaker on the car and all that. Yeah.
For well over 10 years.
Yeah.
Well over a decade. And it's wild about that movie. Every time I watch it, I mean, I have to press pause because I have to like
look around.
Yeah. Like, where is that?
Yeah, where is that? Or I have to Google, like, look up this person. Are they still around?
Yeah.
Are they still alive?
Yes.
You know, it's always this really, it's just a delightful thing to watch every time, you know, whether I decide to watch it or if it winds
just
up on
pops
cable.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just always have to hit the pause button and do a lot of Googling.
Yeah. I can't go up to Mount Benel, even just on a 4th of July to look at fireworks or whatever, without thinking of that song and thinking of the book he's holding and like throwing the camera off, you know, the side. That's the last shot in the whole movie.
Yeah.
My wife and family get so tired of like, you know, my references everywhere we go. She's like, I get when we first moved back, like that you would have these memories, but like, seriously, like 20 years later, like.
Yeah. I mean, Gus
can you stop?
Yeah. Gus is in that movie.
Really?
Yeah, GM Steakhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we touched on that already.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was in it. I know there was the scene in there where there's like.
Yeah, there's a flash of him in there.
Yeah, like Lewis is in there sitting in the corner, and then there's famous like ranting lady and all that stuff, and the whole background is where I work now, and it's just flat car dealerships, you know, in that 6th and Lamar area. It's crazy.
It is crazy. So while you were listening to Soul Hat and, you know, vibing out to Trippin' Daisy, and you were also listening to hip hop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was, obviously we caught the whole era of the rise of, you know, hip hop and rap music in the 80s. But I think living in the house that's still sacred ground to me, up MLK at the top of the hill on Robbins Place was like our college house. So I still drive by that every once in a while. And, that house was the epicenter for like Low End Theory when it came out, and we lived right next to the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity house, which is a black fraternity house. They're famous for like their step shows, where they do like badass step routines. They would practice those in the back, and we shared a fence, and the fence was chain link, so you could see right through it.
Awesome.
Right.
And we would go to their parties, they would come to ours in our smaller house.
Yeah.
And I mean, you remember like the movie House Party with like Kid and Play, like
Yeah.
they were like that, like they were off the chain, like parties in there, and we were just like 3 dorks from next door, like right in the middle of it all.
Yeah.
And so that era is, to me, I still have a playlist that's probably my number 1 playlist, you know, on Spotify of old school hip hop, Far Side, oh my gosh. Yeah. Tribe, everybody in between. 90s hip hop was just like the best.
It was.
And still is, in my opinion.
No, it still is.
Do you ever get inspiration from like how like a commercial shot based off of like, say, the Far Side where everything was backwards?
That was
Spike
upside
Jonze,
down too. Yeah. Like that whole thing.
Is that just too much of a time constraint? Like you would.
Spike is a huge influence. Yeah. In general, he's like one of my favorite,
He's great.
like everything's.
Yeah, he's great.
And so he was a huge influence, even through one of my skating days, like shooting a lot of skating videos.
Yeah.
And so, clearly, like
It's in the back of your mind.
Yeah, that whole way of putting things together. And we worked with Kid and Play on the Radio Shack 80s project.
Nice.
They were in it. So I got to talk to
yeah.
them about the movie and how influential it was and all that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, the dance. You used to be able to do the dance.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
well, that's
Yeah, we all tried.
Tapping feet and all that.
It's funny that this is all brought up because last night I watched a video on social media of Kid and Play performing just recently. And they're doing the dances, but they can barely do it. I mean, they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, time flies, right?
Yep.
But they're not like super crazy with it and super, acrobatic, for lack of a better word.
Sure. Yeah.
They're just, they're barely tapping their feet, and you know what I mean. They're not as like agile, but it was just interesting to see, But they're still doing it. They're still performing live, and I'm a big, proponent of legacy acts, just making that money, and just kind of riding off into the sunset. I'm just a big fan. Like, if you're still able to perform, please do it.
They work that hard. They need to cash a little bit of a deposit here and there from coming in, making an appearance, because all of us old heads want to still see it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll still go, and if you can introduce things to another generation, I've been to a lot of final tour type things, whatever it was, and if you see young kids there who are impressionable, the first concert I ever went to, so I was in an interesting family. My age dynamics in my family were like multiple decades. Like I was the youngest of 5 kids.
Okay.
By a large margin. So it was like, my sister was 14, then 12, then 10, then I had 3 sisters and 1 brother. Then closest sister in age was 6 years older, and then me. So we were kind of 2 outliers, possible mistakes. And then my dad was 10 years older than my mom. So I grew up in a house, and they all loved music, and it was I was getting music from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Nice.
And then I was a kid of the 80s. So all very influential. And my first concert, this is sort of bougie story, but we were living internationally, so it wasn't as hard to get to, but we were flying to Hawaii for a family vacation. And my dad was sitting separated from us. We got put on a flight that was full, and he sat next to Levon Helm's sound technician for a concert that was going to be put on in Honolulu while we were there from the band, and it was after the band, so it was Levon Helm and the All-Stars or something like that. But anyway, he got tickets through that, sitting next to him and being friends with him. So my earliest recollection of a concert was hazy, 7-year-old sitting right by the sound platform at that concert. And and then, obviously you choose your concerts later when
what
you're
was your
older and
first
stuff
choice,
like that.
with your own money?
First choice would have been, so before we got into New Wave, when I lived overseas, my buddy Craig Wagner, who went to St. Stephen's, and I were influenced by older kids into metal.
Yeah.
And so we were all in on Motley Crue. Those first 2 albums, we rode BMX and we listened to Motley Crue. That was it.
Motley Crue was badass.
They were those first 2 albums were sick. I don't vouch for them after the car crash, if you know that story. But Shout at the Devil and Too Fast for Love, we would crank that nonstop. And so right when I moved back to Houston, they were coming to the Summit, and the Summit became the big venue where we all went. Anybody that lived in Houston back in the day, which is now a church or something. But
Joel Osteen.
The Summits. Yeah, it used to be where the Rockets won their championships, and where Van Halen and The Cure and anybody back in the day. I saw NWA play there back on that famous tour.
Wow.
Yeah, Summit was great. But I went to that, and I went to that Motley Crue concert, which was crazy because we had spent several years reading nothing but Hit Parader and Circus Magazine and all these stories about the Sunset Strip as impressionable 13-year-olds. And so it built up and built up and built up to about as legendary status as you can imagine going into a venue.
Yeah.
When they walked on stage, it was that's fucking them. It doesn't really happen but a few times in your life where you're primed that much to be that's them. And my kids just did that on the Taylor tour and all that, where it's oh my God, it's actually her. So I went to see that. They filmed the Home Sweet Home video at that concert.
Oh.
So that
they?
became very famous with like the crutch in the air
Yeah.
and like all that footage of them walking through the tunnel and stuff.
The girl lifting.
The
up
girl
her top.
lifting her top. That was all
Snap.
Houston. They played it 3 times at the end of the concert. They were like, anyone who wants to leave can, but we're going to film a bunch of footage of Home Sweet Home. So you're going to get 2 more takes of the song.
I'm sure everyone stayed.
Oh, yeah, it was great. I mean, we were just like dumb kids smelling weed smoke for the first time and being like, this is great.
Do you remember how much you paid for those tickets?
Probably $13. Yeah, like
My
nothing.
God.
Like maybe
Yeah.
$11.50. All those concert stubs, which
Yeah.
I'm a pack rat, a very organized pack rat,
Yeah.
but I still have my Smith's ticket
great.
stub, my Cure, all the old stuff in a shoebox somewhere. My friends still make fun of me, but they always have the price on there and they're ridiculously cheap. It's
know.
insane.
Yeah, you look at like old Liberty lunch ticket stubs, like
Oh,
$10,
man.
$12.
Yes. Yeah, I still have a lot of those too.
And I really don't want to get into like a deep discussion about ticket prices now, but George Strait just announced
Dropped,
that
yep.
he announced he's playing at the Moody Center like 2 nights, I believe.
Okay.
But tickets are it's just cost prohibitive. I don't know how anyone, like I said, I'm not here to examine why ticket prices are that high, but it's so cost prohibitive. Floor seats, I think nosebleeds are like starting at $300. I mean, it's a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's King George. I get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, man, I think it's just with everything. It's not only, with music, but it's also, even sporting events.
Yeah.
And
Crazy.
it's just the way things are going. Where, I'm a big sports person, and with the Buffalo Bills right now, they, their season ended on a very bad note. And they fired their head coach and what have you. But anyways, they're about to move into a new stadium. Okay. Their fan base is extremely loyal.
Yeah.
Right. We're talking generations
Bills
deep
Mafia.
of fandom. Yeah. And very blue collar. Right. They're not rich. You know what I mean? And so with this new stadium, a lot of those fans that have been season ticket holders for decades, can't afford season tickets in the new stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I don't know. It's just weird. I think Rachel and I have talked about this several times about people who sit courtside. Now, if you are a true fan, and I definitely know people who are true fans that sit courtside at games.
Yeah.
Folks that are involved with Texas basketball, Texas athletics that sit courtside that they bleed orange, right? But I also think with pro games, like NBA games, are the people sitting sitting courtside real fans?
I know.
I'm sure there's people that are season ticket holders that are like Rudy's dad in the movie Rudy. Right?
Yeah.
He walks into this Notre Dame stadium for the first time, and he's just staring at it in awe. Imagine having a season ticket holder that has been sitting in the nosebleeds forever, and they just by chance or had the opportunity to sit courtside just one game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That'll never happen.
Yeah.
I mean, unless Billy Joel's there.
We were just shooting in Atlanta in the Hawks Stadium, and it was empty, obviously
Right.
on the day we were shooting, but looking at the brands that were marked, a few seats that were on court, that whole flip a fan down to the court type thing, and just the vantage point and being that would be pretty cool if you were way up there drinking a Mick Ultra and somebody told you to go sit in the Mick Ultra seats or whatever. But I totally hear you. It's a different experience when you don't have, especially going to bowl games. I'm a huge Texas fan, so I go to most of the games, go to all the home games.
Did you go to Orlando?
I did. That's funny you say that, because I have a lot of family in Florida, and we were already going to Orlando.
Perfect
so then
timing.
all of a sudden they landed the Cheez-It Bowl, and it was so fun. It was nobody cared in the sense of it wasn't a pressure game like the Peach Bowl, the year before or whatever.
Yeah.
And the fans were just having fun outside, tailgating together,
Yeah.
Michigan and Texas. And then the game was great. It was great. But my point would be the day-to-day games, you can find a lot of fans that, especially maybe it's not a marquee game here at DKR or something, you can find a lot of fans who picked up cheaper tickets and they're real
Right.
fans. And then you go to some of the major bowl games, college football playoff, whatever, and clearly the corporate seats are starting to make their way in, or you're in Jerry World or whatever, and it's like, just you can tell the difference, I think, in the access and stuff, and it kind of dampens the spirit. What I love about college football is just the fandom of it all, and how rabid, you know, like a place like Death Valley can be, or Kyle Field or whatever. DKR lately, we're starting to make some noise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. Just the, I mean, it's kind of always been this way, but the influence of money.
For sure.
Right? And corporations and what have you, and how you're starting to see. Well, it's even more disturbing, and I don't even want to like go even deeper on this, but just even with legalized gambling and just how that has infiltrated pro sports and college sports as well. It's a little
unsettling. To know.
Yeah. So, but I was involved with Texas football for many, many years.
Yeah, you used to hype the crowd, man. That was great.
Yeah. The vibe and the atmosphere on game day at DKR. Yeah, I mean, rivals many other schools as well. You know, and I mean, I don't like the game that I went to before I was even involved with Texas. I don't even remember. I mean, it was like 08, 09, it was like in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And the game day experience back then, I don't remember it being like that at all. You know?
Being hype?
Yeah, super hype. I don't remember it being that way, even though, I think Vince was playing.
Well, Colt in that era, if it was late 2000s.
Wait, was it?
They were really good, though. They were ranked number 1 during that run here at home.
Maybe it was Colt. I can't remember, but I remember I wanted
Vince
to find.
Would be like 05, 04.
I just remember like going online and going, okay, I want to look up the game that I went to, that I attended, and I want to look at the record. Like, dude, Texas was steamrolling over everyone, like by a wide margin.
Yes.
And me being at Texas around the time of, Chuck Strong and Tom Herman and sitting in the booth and being, adjacent to where the coaches were, in the booth, and them being frustrated and yelling. And you could hear furniture flying.
Right.
That's not the case now. They're killing it. But, it was just weird to see that season and the record and just like how just the margin, they won. It was really, really just kind of like, wow,
They've been weird. Pretty uneven. I've been a very avid fan since my freshman year, which was a year that they call it Shock the Nation, but we weren't expected to do anything. And then they had a great season and played in the Cotton Bowl and got destroyed by Miami. But we won't talk about the end of the season. The rest of it went really well. And they've been just uneven. It's been some decades have not been great. And then they've had insane decades like Mac Brown era. And then Sark's been killing it. So you kind of live and die, and you kind of figure out who's loyal of your friends when they're still going during the sucky era. And then who wants tickets or to come to the tailgate, now that, we're playing Georgia and it's a big hype game or something. So I appreciate the fans that stuck around through it all, but I love the atmosphere now. I think Longhorn City Limits added a ton. I mean, that whole Del Conte influence on just what it's like. It was so frustrating that they didn't have it figured out before then with some of the things that people, not the DJ side of it. You were killing it with the music and stuff, but they would have like a jetpack guy or like things that just felt more NBA than felt like college football. I
forgot about the jetpack guy.
And I feel like CDC came in and cleaned it all up and just dialed it all into the best possible mix of everything. They get the fans there earlier. Students are general admission, so they get there early.
Right.
And it just feels like a college football game now.
At his previous place, the Horned Frog?
He was at TCU, yeah.
Was he doing it? Was there some sort of similar thing going on there? Or was it like
I don't think so.
I don't think
origin
so.
story?
I will claim, and I'm not saying this for any sort of credit whatsoever, but I had a buddy, Matt Lang, who was the creative director during the Herman era.
I remember Matt.
Remember Matt and Tony, his buddy?
Matt would like occasionally hit me up about
He
like,
loved hip hop. He came to our South by party and would always like tell me a random guy producer he met who I would have never known who that was. But he was like a Louisiana background. He'd been with like Bama back during their big run. He'd been with the Saints. He was like dialed in with the football program. And so he was much younger than me and was killing it as a creative director. And his grandfather or something had a connection to GSD&M. So gave him the tour. He gave me the tour back at the UT program. Mm-hmm. And then Chris's partner, I can't remember, Chris Del Conte's partner, came in and asked,
Drew Martin.
Drew.
Yeah.
They asked everyone who was already there submit some thought starters on what needed to get fixed. And so I remember meeting Matt at Austin Java, rest in peace, here at 12th and Lamar, and giving him a list. And it was a well thought out, like 10 things that need to happen. And my buddy Ryan and I had just gone to the Horns Coliseum game at USC in LA because we were already out there for work. So we just went to see Texas play. And they had a bunch of stuff. Like they had a pregame DJ that drew students there early and like fans to the stadium early. That was on my list. Yeah. Like have a band play before the game and just all this other stuff. These are things that they would have come up with on their own. I'm not claiming credit, but it all started to happen. And I was like, thank God. Like all I want is for it to happen. I don't care like who came up with it.
I was at C3, you know, I was still at C3
when it was the C3 connection.
At the beginning when it all started to take shape.
Yes.
Drew was at the offices a lot. You know, talking to Charles.
Yep.
And so that's when C3 started getting involved in C3 still books, I believe, along with Charles Branch, you know, Longhorn City Limits.
Yeah.
But, you know, working, I think they're still there, but, you know, Dirk and Emily, who are C3 alums, they produce Longhorn City Limits.
Yeah.
But, I think, you know, just having all those elements, getting the fans involved, I think it's fantastic. And then also Longhorn City Limits. And then also I think they have after the games a silent disco of some sort.
Yeah.
There's a little something for everyone. You know, it's not just the price of admission you know, into the game. There's all this other stuff as well. You know, more bang for your buck. And, and
free.
Yeah. So. And you know, I've always thought this, and I don't know if I ever said this, you know, to the folks that I work with at Texas, but we're Texas. We need to go big. Always go big.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't follow, like just lead and go big.
And they have hook 'em.
Yeah. That suit.
Yeah.
Charles was one. You know, Coffee was a guy in the suit. That suit, like, I don't know if I was.
C3's just. There needs to be a documentary on C3 because they've just been so influential in town and the growth of it. And like people I know that were there early days, like Dave Rockwood here at GSD&M, like it's just been so many stories about the beginnings of it and all of it that I think need to get told by somebody.
My time there. I mean, I was there from like 2010, like maybe 09 until 21 when the pandemic, you know, during the pandemic, we all got laid off. But anyways, I mean, just a fantastic time there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was family. I mean, I know that, you know, I'm sure that's probably a word that's thrown around at GSD&M. But at C3 at the time while I was there, I mean, it really was.
Yeah.
You know, I have nothing but love for that company, and it was an exciting time because Longhorn City Limits, all our festivals were taking off. Yeah. Right. You know, our involvement in the political world with Obama and all that kind of stuff.
Oh
I mean, it was just
great.
It was a really exciting time.
Well, here's a story that goes back to me and GSD&M that ties it around is Roy Spence, who you asked about earlier, hugely influential in Austin, in politics, you know, knew the Clintons really well, started basically his whole marketing was for, you know, politicians here in Texas and stuff before they were even an ad agency. There's so many unsung stories of things that Roy has influenced or done that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
And so the origins of Austin City Limits Festival at Zilker go through his office. So one of the Charlies, I guess Jones, came to visit him and pitched this idea to begin with. And he knew Roy's secretary, I think, Karen, and was like, okay, let's set up something so I can just bounce this off somebody who has some like marketing knowledge. And his original idea was, I'm going to get BB King to do a concert in Zilker Park. That was it. Like, that was the pitch. And he's
great.
like,
Yeah.
you know, nobody had performed in Zilker. It was a huge space of land, you know, and it was used for like maybe Kite Fest back in the day. Maybe, I don't know what was pre Austin City Limits. But Roy was basically like, you're thinking too small. Make it a festival of a lot of bands and make it more than one day. So he basically walked out of Roy's office with sort of the blueprint of what it became.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And he was like, and it's in an article that you can look up, but Charlie quotes, you know, Roy as being like the deciding factor on them going all in on that festival. So
Wow.
like, it's just cool. Like, he would never tell you that, Roy,
Sure.
but hearing those stories throughout my 20 years at GSD&M is just like super cool.
That's awesome.
And ACL Fest took off.
Yeah,
It's,
it did.
It's still
and
happening.
it's the beast that it is now.
Have
Yeah.
you performed more than once? I mean, have you done a couple of
I have
sets there?
Yeah, I've done. You know, I used to do the after parties.
Yeah.
For many
So I
years.
know I saw you that one.
And then that one year
early
you saw me
year.
with
Yeah.
Vicky.
Yep.
There was one year, the last time I played on an actual stage, they called me like, "Hey Mel, what are you up to?" And I'm like, "Hey, you know, not much is going on." And they're like, "Hey, one of our performers on this one particular stage called in sick or whatever. You know, they're ill. Can you, you know, we'll have a driver pick you up and take you to the park or whatever. We need you to play at whatever 5 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever." So I go there and we set up all the gear. And when I'm about to play, right before I start playing, one of the production people walk up and they said, it was probably the stage manager, and he says, "Hey, do you mind if they stream your set? It's going to be on Hulu." And I'm like, "Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?" Right? I start playing, okay, and I'm getting texts. I'm like, "Why is my phone like?" And my old girlfriend's mom was like, "Hey Mel, I'm watching you right now on Hulu." I'm like, I can't really respond to this. I'm playing. And then we're talking 2 songs in, the mixer just malfunctions.
Oh no.
And so I think the majority of my set, I mean, I didn't play after that. I stopped playing. I don't know if they stopped the stream, but probably part of the stream was, you know, just footage of me repairing a mixer in front of everybody. Oof. I took it apart, you know, and the fader was totally destroyed or whatever. Oof. But yeah, that was the last time. I thought it was funny because there's probably like, God knows how many people watching on Hulu, just my goofy self, disassembling a mixer in front of everyone. And they're like, what's going on?
How long were you playing for up until that point? Like 10 minutes?
It's like
an hour?
Maybe 5-10 minutes at the most.
Oof.
Wow.
Dang.
And
I think the sets are like 40 minutes, right?
it was probably like 40, 60. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But if the set would have been planned, if I was like, an official, well, I mean, I guess I was part of the lineup, but if it was something that, was booked months ago or a year ago or a year prior rather, it would have been properly advanced. And my, whenever I advanced for a festival and they're providing all the backline, there's a lot of redundancy. Like I have doubles of everything. Okay,
Yep.
you have 2 mixers, you have
Exactly.
4 turntables because like you never know, this is something
Yep.
might fail. But that wasn't the case. So they just kind of were scrambling,
Yeah.
like looking for gear, on site, and,
Yeah.
and that's what happened. But anyways, it was cool. I mean, whatever. I still got paid, and
You're like, whatever. Yeah.
but yeah, that was the last time. I forgot that was 22, 23.
22,
I
yeah.
can't remember.
So I remember you from the Nasties 90s run. When did you did you do anything before then as far as DJing here in town? Like when did you start?
I was DJing, like I mentioned before we started recording. The gal that I moved to Austin for.
Yeah.
She worked at GSD&M, and so
Yep.
like that girl was totally dialed in with the scene here.
Okay.
Just everyone who threw raves, and that's when raves were like dangerous.
Underground.
Yeah, underground, illegal.
Oh yeah.
She knew everyone who threw those parties. And when I moved here, for her, she started introducing me to all these folks. And next thing you know, like I'm playing all these illegal like raves.
And you already had turntables.
I already
you had
had
your own
all that.
fader,
I
all
was
that
already,
stuff. Like,
I was already ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, and that just took off. You know, and I got a job here at the record store through Vicky.
Mm-hmm.
Through Vicky, because
Yep.
at the time she was working at the Statesman, and one of her accounts happened to be Waterloo Records.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I had been trying to get a job at the record store, and I guess she dealt with John a lot.
Yeah.
And I was actually DJing in New York at the time, and I think she called me. I think I had a cell phone at the time, and she called me like, "Hey, Nick, when you get back to Austin, I lined up an interview with John." And I'm like, "Awesome." But anyways, and then, I mean, this all has everything to do with Vicky. And then Vicky, her other account was Nasties.
Okay. So she connected you with Nasties as well?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. And Vicky was like, and it was already happening. And Vicky was like, "Hey, you need to, one of my accounts, they have like this hip hop night. I think you would like it. You should just go over there and hang out." And they already had 2 other DJs.
Legendary.
Already. Yeah. And so I go there, and it was cool. It was cool, and Eric and Snoopy, who were the original guys there. I became really good friends with Eric and what have you. And so anyways, I went there and I thought it was fantastic. And then, just the universe blessed me or whatever, because, Snoopy had to leave. And then they were like, "We need another DJ." And so they brought me in. And the rest is history.
Yeah. Sick.
What year was that?
1996.
Yeah.
And so it was always 2 DJs from the
was
get
always-
go,
yeah.
pretty much till the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Eric Snotty, the other DJ, the OG DJ. His name
30s, snotty.
Yeah, DJ's
Perfect.
DJ Snotty. He moved back to Dallas, because he had some family stuff to deal with. And then it was just me.
And then what was it, Baby G after that? Or was that somebody else?
That's a very good
What's
question.
the chronological partners you've had?
God, that's a good.
'Cause I remember
That's
Baby G when I first moved here in
Okay,
98.
so it was Eric and I for a while, and then Eric had to leave to go to Dallas.
Yep.
Then it was JD.
Oh, yeah.
God bless him. He's no longer with us. He was there for many, many years. He left. Baby G took over. Legendary Dallas DJ, DMC champion.
Wow.
And then G was like, "Okay, I need to I need to do something with my life. I'm going to become a nurse." So he went to school to become a nurse. And then I believe it was Dave
Okay. Yep.
Miranda, Prince Clausen, you. And then after, I think towards the end, it was just.
You had special guests. You had Gracie Chavez. And
Yeah, we've had,
Four
like-
Color Zach.
Yeah,
You
we've
like,
had
special guests.
Yeah, we've had,
Toward the
folks like
end.
that in the past.
Okay.
DJ Hall from LA. We've had a handful of people. I think we had Joe 11 from the Rub.
Are those archived anywhere? Like, are you on
Man.
No.
SoundCloud or anything with like
I have
sets?
I have one set from Nasty's that's on my SoundCloud. But
I think I have that one bookmarked.
Yeah.
It's like a hip hop tribute or tribe tribute or something like
Yeah,
that.
there's that.
Yeah.
But that was it. And then it was the both of us,
Yeah.
and then
It's like a 19
It's still there. Like, why isn't that still popping up? Like the building,
different ownership.
yeah, but
Oh,
who goes to
well.
Nasty's? I mean, whatever it is now, like what?
There was a lot of soundproofing Jack did, the previous owner, and I think the
as-
new owners took that off. And like,
Okay.
there's a neighborhood there. I don't
Yeah.
know if
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bass would be bassin'. Like,
Yeah.
it was pretty powerful. Yeah.
the way it ended was really weird. But then again, it was kind of my style because I'm the king of the Irish goodbye. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not telling anyone I'm leaving. I'm just gonna piece the fuck out of here, and you ain't even gonna know. And so there was one. This was 2017, and I get a text from Jack, the owner, the former owner. Now that guy had owned the bar since '85, right?
Wow.
And he was like, "Hey, you don't have to. You have to come in tonight. You can take the night off." I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm not mad at that, right?" And then a few days later, he sends me a text. He's like, "Oh, by the way, I just want to let you know I just sold the bar." I'm like, "What?" What? You didn't even like give me any type of like warning. We could have had one big blowout. Like, I could have DJ'd and everyone could have walked in with a sledgehammer and
Yeah.
just totally trashed this
Oh,
place
yeah.
or something.
I've been to a few of those around town when something closes.
Yeah.
You know it's the last night. Yeah.
Let's just destroy
Mayhem.
this place, right? And I never got that. And I was so bummed. And then, it moved with the quickness. And then maybe a couple days later, I went to Nasty's to get my turntables there. And I walked in and the new owners are already just taking everything apart, like gutting the building out. Mm-hmm. And that was it. And those guys, they did everything that, they did everything Jack didn't do. I mean, like I guess it happens
Bathroom.
when you've owned a business that long, I think after a while you just don't care. But they went in and they got rid of all the soundproofing. They cleaned up everything. Everything's really nice and clean, and not like nice and clean to where it's like it's bougie or anything like that. It was just like, okay, this is the way it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
This is the way it's supposed to smell, right? And and like the new owners, they're like, hey, dude, if you ever want to like have like maybe once a year have a kind of like a throwback party here, we're down. And I just didn't want to do it there anymore. I'm like, we had our run
Cross
there.
that bridge.
Right. We had our run there, and there's no soundproofing. I know the neighbors would hate it, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's just one night. And when I started the tribute nights at 310 over at ACL, I wanted it to be an elevated experience because like we're all grown up now. You know what I mean? The charm of being in a bathroom where it's basically a hole in the ground and it smells, or you're afraid to touch anything because you feel like you might catch something. Yeah. I mean, that's cool when you're younger, right?
Yeah.
There's still like, I think Austinites definitely have an affinity for like, just divey places like that. And and I do too. But
People forget Liberty Lunch didn't have a roof on it.
Yeah.
Like half of it.
Exactly. That was part of its charm, right? And so just moving into like, 2020 or whatever I did, or when I decided to, move the Nasty's tribute events. Well, it's not even, I didn't even move it. I just decided to throw it at 310. I'm like, all right, let's just make this an elevated experience for everyone because everyone's older and everyone is grown up and everyone appreciates a clean bathroom, right?
Yeah.
A really nice place.
Yeah.
And,
Wrapping by 10.
yeah. And getting it over with early, But yeah, Nasty's is interesting. That's where I cut my teeth and, shout out to Vicky.
Yeah, that's a crazy
Because
story.
she connected me with this place and Nasty's.
Did you ever go to Nasty's back in the day?
Oh
on
yeah,
Mondays?
yeah. That was.
Did y'all know each other by the?
No, I knew his name from
Okay.
all the flyers and everything else that were out and about. It was kind of synonymous with Nasty's, like late '90s.
Yeah.
Mel and Nasty's. It was always like a pregame or I don't know, like pre-drinking before the big party on West Campus or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Kind of a spot to go.
Yeah.
So you'd get like different, I think, waves of types of people there. You get like the fraternity sorority crowd, like pre-partying. Then you'd get like more local.
Yeah, a lot of townies.
Yeah, like hanging towards the later part of the night.
Yeah.
You'd maybe wind up there sometimes. Yeah. There's a couple of bars that used to just be the wind up place. Yeah. If you Buffalo Club, do you remember that place on like 7th? That was like you wound up there. If everything else went wrong that night, you were there at Buffalo Club. Yeah.
Not to be confused with Buffalo Billiards.
No, not Buffalo Billiards, which was also a fun spot. But yeah, Buffalo Club was crazy. It was like, it was always out open way later than everything on 6th Street. I don't know if the ordinance on 7th was different than 6th or what, but like it was one block off 6th. This is like mid 90s, late 90s. And you would show up there with your buddies and they served Long Island iced teas in mason jars. Ooh. And any of those, just one of them sends people in just wheels off directions. Yeah. And so there was like 200 versions of that, happening at any time at like 2 a.m. at Buffalo Club. So it was a mess. But yeah.
Do it while you're young.
Yeah.
All those organs are young too.
I know. I don't know what 6th Street's like now, but it was crazy back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do remember it.
I know they're trying to clean it up.
Yeah. When I think of that time period, it's just a blur.
Yeah.
A complete blur. Wow. Yeah.
Good times.
So you have some stories about, I think, maybe you mentioned Willie Nelson.
Yeah, some advertising stories.
Yeah.
Willie was an awesome one. You guys mentioned how we influence the music we use and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so myself and Ryan, Willie's a legend. Always wanted to try and make that happen.
Yeah,
Found a
of
project
course.
that worked perfectly. A team brought us an idea with Willie in it that fit perfectly for the March Madness campaign with like the Road to the Final Four with like Chuck and Spike and Sam.
Yeah.
And using On the Road Again, because that makes sense, obviously, for Road to the Final Four. So the crazy thing for me personally is that the project coincided with a lot of my GSD&M background. When I interned at GSD&M, I also interned for Terry Lacona at Austin City Limits, the TV show, that same summer.
Wow.
So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was literally between grad school and undergrad. I was a lifeguard at Westwood Country Club with like two buddies, just doing terribly, like, from like a growing up standpoint, but just enjoying Austin and did those internships to figure out what the hell I was trying to do. Was I trying to go into production and, music, or figured out advertising and see what the inside of an advertising agency was like? And that's clearly the direction I went. But when I was at the internship, I was like getting random jobs. I would go fetch like a amp for Joe Ely, or I would do whatever, and answering the phones and passing them through this like, rudimentary phone system was part of it. And Willie was setting up for later in the season, and his manager called to set up some logistics, and I tried transferring him to Terry, and I hung up on him. And so I cut off, and he's a notorious hothead. Everyone
Terry?
heard, no, Willie's manager.
Oh, Willie's manager.
And so I hung up on him. He calls back 60 seconds later, rips me through the phone. I pass it on. I might have even got the other intern to do it the next time. I'm like, you got to figure out how to transfer him, because if I cut him off again, I'm dead. So he transfers him on. That's 95, right? So that's like way in my ancient history. I was like 22, whatever. Then we have this project here 2 years ago for GSD&M. We shot with Willie in LA. Same manager is on set of the shoot. And I got to literally apologize.
Did he remember?
And told him the story. I mean, he was like, yeah, I remember the season, that we recorded. I didn't remember that I was hung up on. But the girl he was with laughed her ass off and was like, that's one of the better stories that somebody's come up and told him. But Willie couldn't have been better. He was, fantastic. He had Trigger with him. Like the guitar. I mean, it's like seeing that in person.
Dude, yeah, I've seen that up close.
And Spike even, we shoot a lot of our stuff with Spike Lee, and he's in it, and he only shoots himself. Right. So he's our director, and he went up and even grabbed it and got like a photo with Trigger.
He had to touch
it was just like one of those moments. But Willie was great. We talked to him afterwards. He is a huge Longhorn fan. Goes back to like he was friends with Daryl K. Royal and stuff back in the 70s, and their whole run of the Longhorns through Austin. And so as soon as we mentioned we were Longhorn fans and we were from Austin, he just like brightened up and was like, oh, this is a different type shoot than like my everyday shoot. Yeah, that was killer. There's been a lot of fun music projects over 20 years. I told you all about the 80s, one where we had to find everybody. We shot Taylor right before Taylor Swift went on this galactic tour that she just had. We did the commercial that kind of coincided with that tour for Capital One. We're on set with her out in LA, and she was super sweet and had some funny moments, from that shoot.
Were your daughters like, oh my God, can I
They
come?
were dying. Yeah.
Were you sending them photos?
I wasn't allowed,
Oh, you're not allowed to
cameras
take photos,
cameras are on lock,
sure.
but some funny stories. And then we wound up with pics with her, and it was like, oh, these are Taylor's pics. So my daughters and all their friends were like, can I have one?
Yeah.
But it was crazy because I knew of her and was a fan of certain albums and certain songs that I'd heard coming along. But it really wasn't until the tour that she really hit mega status. Like that tour just seemed to go on forever, and she got bigger and bigger as it went on. So we shot this right before the tour. and there was a few moments where I had to interact with her and just kind of like give some direction or whatever. And I was, we meet celebrities all the time, and I have to have a personal vested interest to get somewhat starstruck or nervous, and it's like the most random people. It's not.
It is. It always
it's
is.
not the
Yes.
biggest
It always
person.
is.
It's
Yeah.
like Kelly Slater or like. I passed Nikki Sixx on the promenade once, and I was like, "Oh my fucking god!" Like that's
Shaking.
the thing compared to like Taylor, and it was like, but she wasn't cool. She was famous, but she wasn't as big. And as I went to the concert with my kids later that year and saw what a force she was, and saw the concert just as a spectator and seeing somebody go through 3 hours of that many songs and like that dialed in, I was like,
I know.
wow, massively impressed, and almost got nervous retroactively for the fact that I had met her like earlier that year.
Yeah.
And that was crazy. So that was the biggest, star, I think, like star power that we've worked with.
Yeah.
We shot with MC Hammer back in the day. That was fun with Jay up in Dallas before we moved back down here. And that was like for Nationwide Insurance. Hammer had famously blown through like $30 million of his, earnings, and in his own mind was cool with doing the spot that kind of joked about that and how he needed the insurance to cover it as a life lesson for future artists to see. So it was the Life Comes at You Fast Nationwide Insurance campaign, and we shot him doing a video in front of like a mega mansion in like the Valley, and then there's like the black screen that says 15 minutes later, and there's like tow trucks taking the big giant gold H off his house and all that. And so that was one of the first I did that had sort of an epic character and music driven spot. But yeah, good memories.
Was Hammer cool?
He was awesome.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's kind of like a reverend or something, these days. So he's
Okay.
That's another weird life circle thing. I had seen Hammer in the Summit back during that very first Can't Touch It tour. I forget who he even had, but it was back when they used to tour with like 4 or 5 acts, and it was just like he would be last, but it would be
it'd probably be like
Salt and Peppa, and I even think Vanilla Ice might have gotten thrown on that billing.
Yeah.
It was just like a weird grouping of people. So that was another full circle moment, coming back like the Willie story, where then you're on set with somebody and you're like, how did I get from there in that crowd to here?
I know.
Advertising has done that many times to me in like the career where I'm like, how am I standing here?
I feel like there's a lot of like branches you can go down in advertising. You know, like you wet your feet in photography, and I feel like that is something that it seems like you enjoy.
Yes.
And then you got like things that are in real time, like directing, and then I don't know if you've done graphic design. I feel like you can there's so many choices in advertising.
Even more so now than when I first started. The lanes were a little more defined before, but now you can hire people that we call Swiss Army knives who are just good at everything.
Yeah.
And the fact that any one person with their phone can basically essentially do what used to take a month in LA, whether it be shooting, scoring, editing, graphics, is crazy. And you can shoot beautiful stuff now too that way. So you still want sort of the gatekeepers because they have the taste to make sure things aren't too quick to market. There's been plenty of missteps from brands who tried to like push their own stuff out without sort of the guidance of an agency and people who are outside of their own halls.
Yes.
Which is important.
Yeah.
But from a creative standpoint, the outlets are just insane. Like you don't just hire a writer and an art director anymore. Like it was when I first got in the business. You hire people who can just honestly shoot social content, throw it together in CapCut, and post something that night. Like, for an event, for brands, like getting paid, like that's their job. So it's awesome. The types of people that fill the building versus sort of the 5 or 6 descriptions that used to be in there is awesome.
Do you feel like you ever want to retire? And if you do retire, what do you think you'll be doing in your retirement? Would it be going back to music and trying to discover what that might be?
Jay and I actually joke about this, but he's like, we're both just dumb dudes who got jobs and like somehow managed to keep them. And he's like, I would go easily work at Book People after this and be just as happy, not, just being back to the college age, like level of life.
Yeah.
And I subscribe to that 100%. Like I'm not like oh, now I'm at this level and I need to live like, you know, a person
Right.
who retired.
Right.
I could do anything and find joy in that. And it could just be walking down Barton Creek Greenbelt like I used to back in the
Yeah.
day, you know, and climbing a wall or something for free.
Yeah.
I personally became obsessed with sort of the sailing catamaran life during COVID. I watched a whole bunch of films or like YouTube channels
Yeah.
of people who like uprooted, sold their house, sold all their belongings,
Yep.
and spent the rest of the next 3 years traveling. And there's something exotic and sort of self-empowering about that lifestyle, especially when you're got solar power
I agree.
and you're
Yep.
just off the grid and
Yep.
you're catching mahi for your daily meal. And that to me
I know. Simple
is
pleasures.
crazy,
Yeah.
like possibly life, you know, ending journey, but also sounds perfect, right? As
is
like
perfect.
the day-to-day daydream to
Yeah.
be like, not this.
Yes.
So to answer your question, not looking to retire anytime soon. I'm having so much fun, but like,
Yeah.
I could see that being like, okay, everything's completely crashing down around us and robots are roaming the streets looking to kill us. I'll get on a sailboat and push off in Miami, and you know, you might not hear from me again
Exactly.
unless I get Wi-Fi in Central America or something. My family's not endorsing this, by the way. That's always I've literally created a slideshow and taken them through like how it works
Yeah.
on our TV in the living room, and I've just gotten nothing but thumbs down.
Yeah, they're like no.
Yeah.
No.
And during lockdown, it was getting a little weird to where everyone was like, okay, what are we doing? Like, are we ever going to start going back to the offices and things?
Yeah.
And friends of mine leaving San Francisco for Montana or
Right.
finding Zoom towns, as they called them. So I was researching that stuff as much to be like, what if nothing goes back to normal?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I wouldn't want to trade Austin for another city and just try to replicate the same lifestyle. Schools,
Right.
neighborhoods, restaurants, like that's this place. Like there's
I
nothing
know.
better to me than Austin for all those reasons.
Exactly.
Seattle, San Francisco, whatever, like this is the best version of that for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it would always have to be something totally different and a lifestyle change, like a mountain town or
Yeah.
very coastal or very rural or a catamaran in the middle of the ocean.
Dude, very rural.
What sounds like paradise. Like it's like the old retirement fantasy of just working in the surf hut.
Yeah.
You know, just renting out surfboards.
Could definitely do that. I know people that go down to like certain places in Roatan or whatever, and they're
Yeah.
like, the cost of living's insane. You could live here forever. And I'm like, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Costa Rica, it's a huge, like, it's always been a place that I've loved. I've gone 3 different times in my life in 3 different stages.
Yeah.
Kind of went on a surf trip with buddies in the 90s when it was very still not developed. Like you walked out on the tarmac, you know, in the main
Oh,
airport
wow.
to
Yeah,
get to like the terminal. And then went with Jay, Vicky, all of us before we had kids. So we were just like still in our 30s, early 30s, whatever. And that was fun. And then went for my 50th recently with my family. And every one of those has just been, I was like, I could live here easily.
Yeah.
You come back and you're like, okay, you notice things like squirrels and birds and flowers that you don't usually notice in town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Costa Rica is awesome.
Might be a good time to do that.
Yeah, you never know.
I remember like in the maybe early 2000s, late 90s. I mean, and you know, working at a record store, you hear everyone talk. You know, you have just many random discussions with your coworkers. And I remember there was a thing back in the early 90s, early 2000s about people buying old elementary schools, like you were mentioning, rural, buying old decommissioned elementary schools, like in the middle of like nowhere, like in Kansas or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And they turned them into like these small communities
Yeah.
where, come on guys, I'm bringing my homies with me. You get a classroom, you could do whatever you want in it.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to paint, you want to weld, whatever. We have a gymnasium, we have a cafeteria, but you have to contribute, right? Like,
sure.
you know, help clean up or keep up with the maintenance of the building or whatever.
Yep.
I think that would be great.
You have to be a person of value in the societies.
Exactly.
Like you read old school descriptions of pioneers and random people, and
Yeah.
that's always the description. It's like he was a person of great value to the community. You have to contribute your part, which sometimes we don't live up to.
Right. Yeah.
These days. But
What is that? Yeah, it's just like, oh my gosh.
Just to have like, just
I
imagine.
love that idea of like restoring the school. Like the school here in Hyde Park was one of like Alamo Draft House headquarters was in an old school
Yeah.
that Tim kind of redid and
Called the
remodeled there.
Baker's house or the Baker's? I don't know what.
I don't know what it's officially called. It was
Yeah.
where like truants basically went back in the day. I think before our time in this town, like they would send kids to that second option
Yeah.
high school or whatever it was. It's a big white building just off Avenue F over there.
in Hyde
Or
Park,
Avenue
right?
G,
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember. I lived on 33rd and 44th, and
Yeah.
I remember that building. But I just read an article in Chronicle about that, and how there's just different folks in each kind of area of that building.
the
It's
building?
cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's a nice little microcosm
Yeah.
of people who are doing things.
Yeah, it's kind of like a creative, whatever you call them. Yeah, like commune or something of like creative people. Yeah, the old action figure building used to be like that. You
Oh, yeah.
mentioned Ariel earlier.
Yeah.
And my wife worked for an agency called Exopolis that was in that same
Yep,
building.
that sounds familiar.
Matt Hovis
Yeah.
and that whole crew.
Yeah.
And so you had, what was it, Beast Editorial maybe with Ariel
Yep,
working there.
yep.
And then you had Action Figure.
Yep.
And you had Exopolis all on the east, Cesar Chavez, like way over there.
Yeah,
which was
and
really
what
cool.
was that building before? Do you know?
I thought it was kind of somewhat new. I don't know if it was
Oh.
an old legacy building or not,
Got it.
but it was so far out. Now it's all grown out to it,
I
but it
know.
was so far out that it was almost at 183.
Yeah,
Um,
like no man's land.
yeah.
But they would have some parties. I remember going in there. I'm forgetting his last name, Mark from Action
Yeah.
Figure. And Ariel, you're like, you want to go check out our new office space? And I'm like, sure. And we're all drunk. It's late at night.
Yeah.
And we go toward like one of the ends, and it's like broken glass and dirt, and we're just like,
Oh, yeah. It
There's, like,
just
this-
kind of dropped
I think-
off where they remodeled.
yeah. And there was like this. They set up some sort of volleyball net, and I guess we were playing volleyball in like the worst like Toxic Avenger like situation of like a room.
That's funny.
But that's what you do when you're young. Like it's an adventure, And
Yeah.
they're like, "This is our office." I'm like, "Okay."
Mark's one of the lasting guys from Slacker that you can still meet. He was in that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to
founder
have
of-
him on. I'll ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just
Yeah,
ran into
yeah.
his wife.
He
Yeah.
was the, they list him in the credits, like the thing they did. And it was like guy who throws TV off bridge. And I'm pretty sure it's like the Barton Springs Bridge over the water, like
Okay.
right by Chewy's and all that.
Yeah.
Where or it's the pedestrian version of that. That's just a little farther towards the lake. And he throws a TV off and it's like, he's cursing his girlfriend's name or something in that scene. But
That's him.
that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the whatever version, 18, 22-year-old version of him. Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing,
Yeah,
right?
let's get him in here.
You can literally track.
Yeah,
like-
they still live here. Him and Mike, his wife. But yeah, I saw her at HEB at the Koenig HEB, and I call it the old folks HEB. 'Cause there's never a problem with parking.
Wait, Burnett and
Koenig and Burnett,
oh, dude, I love that HEB.
And it's
It's
quiet.
so OG.
and everybody's moving -2 miles an hour, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is my place. Like
Yeah.
I go to Central Market, that's my
Right.
main guy. But like the Koenig HEB, I'm like, what? I'm gonna get a Valentine's card for my mother-in-law. I'll go to HEB, and I always find like the most random people there. I'm like, what are you doing here? You
Yeah.
live in like Travis Heights. Why?
Yeah, that's
funny.
that's on some grown up shit. That's like what you
is.
do now. You
When
bump
you
in.
get to the stage where you're talking like, and we have nicknames for all the HEBs. It's like Koenig. There was the one on South Oldtorf, which it was like
Yeah.
the HEB of Broken Dreams,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
which is I think become remodeled or is in the process of becoming the best one in town.
Okay,
But yeah, funny. Like,
it's true.
Yeah, you mentioned the Alamo earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know. Like recently, they have been getting some weird press
Oh, yeah.
about eliminating like wait staff, right? And
it's going
digital,
yeah,
right?
It's like very sad.
Yeah, but I just remember when they were on Colorado. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure you went there,
Mm-hmm.
and like how excited I was when they first opened, and
Yeah.
they were playing blaxploitation films and serving 40s,
Yeah.
and just it was such a wonderful place.
Yeah.
and then they blew up. Of course they would have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's such a great concept, and it just took off. But now it's like what it is now. It's just really interesting.
I think it's just the double-edged sword of success. You have to kind of maybe feel like you're selling your soul a little bit to kind of move up. But what does that really mean? It's like, I
Yeah.
feel like there's been some players in Austin that have like, I want to move on up, and it's just like, but what are you going to lose? You know, and so
they got big, and then COVID killed them. Like
Yeah.
a good friend who lived in that Robbins Place house with me during the Tribe era and everything, was in their C-suite during that whole era. So he was working with Tim to try and save the company on the finance side, CFO,
okay,
and had to get bailed out during COVID to save the company.
Yeah.
But part of that comes with relinquishing a lot
Yeah.
of the reins. And then those companies that bail you out want to sell because that's why they're giving you the
course.
money in the first
Yeah.
place. So then Sony bought it.
yeah,
And now it's up to Sony to preserve what's great about Alamo. And that's where everyone's pushing back on that first move to digital
yeah,
ordering. Is it's the number one violation of what we all loved about Alamo was the screen that said, "Put your phones away, you asshole."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, it's like, it's such a great case study in like
yeah,
a place that becomes a cultural icon because of the people that work there and what their values are and what they believe. And like, I've met Tim through my friend Matt, and it was him. Like, he's the music fan. He's the businessman. He's the one that was able to put his stamp on the stuff they were showing back in the day. And then hiring concentric circles of people like that
yep,
who just want to do cool shit and are true music fans or film fans. And then you get a company, and it's their responsibility now to put somebody on the front lines who's managing that, who gets that.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
I get they're under pressure for turning profits, but at a certain point you start to destroy
yes,
the unique reason that people love that place. And you could just as easily go to iPic Theater over Alamo. And
Yeah,
it's like,
that is the
at a
argument
certain
now.
point,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, sure.
which
People,
sucks.
yeah, and people's habits change. You know,
Yeah.
what I mean, I probably have like since 2019 have gone to a movie theater once.
So
Right.
I love the theater,
Once.
and I'll just watch something and not know anything about it.
I
Just
just
to
did
be,
that. I mean,
Yeah, and it's there is still something special. Like, I wouldn't even if I had all the money in the world, I'm like, I'm going to make a home theater that's out of this world. I still would want to go to a public theater. There's
Yeah.
something about it. But that's me, and that's like
There's been
my
a
thing,
lot
so.
of discussion on that. For some reason, my algorithm thinks I want to see every Matt Damon, Ben Affleck interview about their new Netflix thing that they have. But some of it's actually been really good takes on going to the theaters versus what they're doing, which is actually putting something on Netflix
Yeah.
and talking about the forced viewing of a theater experience in this day where we just have our second screen constantly in front of us.
Yep.
And then obviously the quote that came out and got plastered everywhere was Matt saying that Netflix wants you to restate the plot 3 times in the first third of the movie because on Netflix people are so distracted, which is super sad. And I don't think he meant
I
it
agree,
like
yeah.
they're always doing that,
Yeah.
but it got put as the headline. But I just went to see Marty Supreme with my daughter who wanted to go see Timothée Chalamet,
Yeah.
see his butt. And I was like, and I knew nothing. I had seen one image of like, the table tennis scene or whatever. I knew nothing about the plot. And it's a 2.5 hour movie or whatever. And I was blown away. Like, didn't take my phone out once. And it's a roller coaster of a movie. And there's scenes where I probably at home would have started tuning out.
Yep.
And I was so glad I was in the captive theater to be able to see that, even in IMAX, which was crazy. We saw it on IMAX.
So it's almost kind of like a subconscious like move to really log off.
yeah,
And that's one
Yep.
of my reasons probably was just not to look at this stupid thing
Yeah.
all day long.
well, it's the
Yeah.
same reason all those records out there are filling up the place, whereas they used to be in the corner, all the vinyl.
I know it.
And it was CDs everywhere.
Yeah.
Not even, just like that era where it was all MP3s and stuff and
Yeah.
vinyl is dying off. But like, such a difference for me putting a record on, as everyone describes, compared to streaming. And they're two separate
Yeah.
things, and I haven't divorced any of it,
Sure.
but nothing better than just like a Sunday having coffee and just putting the record on.
Yeah, and just letting
And being
it play.
forced to listen to. And then I've been posting recently this device that I got that's a Bluetooth cassette player, and I have a vast collection of cassette tapes.
So
still.
you kept them all.
I have them all. You've
Wow.
commented on the one image that I have of like all of them, just like all the sides.
Yeah.
I posted once on Instagram. And what happened was I started buying tapes right before I moved to Saudi Arabia, which was the last time I lived overseas. And in Saudi, you'd go into this place called Tape Alley, which was downtown in like this random part of like Jubail, which is where we lived, right on the coast, right on the ocean. And it was all pirated cassette tapes.
Yep.
And they were $1.50 equivalent real, which is the Saudi money, $1.50 per cassette. So we would have these bike routes where we would make money delivering USA Today and then go to the cassette place and just buy everything, all the stuff. So that's why I have over 200 cassettes of just like that I've lugged around. You know, when my wife met me, she was like, "What are you doing with all these boxes of all this stuff?"
Yeah. Never get rid of it.
But
Never
now I've
get rid
got,
of them.
and I used to have an Audi that had a cassette player, and I held onto that as long as I could.
Yeah.
And finally, that thing broke down.
Yeah.
So now I don't have a cassette player in my car, but I got We Are Rewind makes a Bluetooth cassette player that I can just put straight to my headset.
Okay.
And I've just been taking out old cassettes, and the same thing about movies, forcing yourself to listen to something that you can't skip is such an interesting jump cut from,
Yeah.
I mean, it is so frustrating to rewind a tape. I cannot tell you. Like we used to just press rewind and
so
just
easy
kick
back
it
in the
for
day.
like, and just think inside our own brain for a while for like 2.5 minutes while the cassette rewound. Now it drives me crazy.
That's
And I'm just
funny.
trying to get to the killer song on the New Order tape or whatever, you know, like Perfect Kiss to kick off the tape.
Yeah, that's
And it's like,
So it really drives you
aggravating.
bonkers?
Oh, massively.
You don't think
It's
that this
crazy
is like
how
the art of patience?
short-circuited our brain has gotten.
I know. I know.
Yeah.
Whoosh.
It's interesting because I'm glad that they make cassette players in 2026 because, like you, I don't get rid of anything.
Yeah.
I have tons of cassettes as well, and so to put a cassette that you value and that's tied into memories, you don't want to put it in an old deck because the chances are it's going to get eaten up.
Yeah.
So to put it in
How
a
many
brand new
times has that happened? Yeah. Yeah.
to put it in a brand new fresh deck where you know what, this mixtape that I made for my very first girlfriend
Yeah.
is not going to get chewed up.
I have some great ones, recordings, old, like 6400 still on like,
Dude,
Memorex tape
do
or
you still
whatever.
have those?
Yeah.
Man, dude.
Digitized most of them. Yeah. I'll pass them along.
Dude, hook me up.
Yeah.
I want to hear that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then mixtapes. I think I've sent you before ones that I used to do at that house on Robbins Place where I had a realistic mixer from Radio Shack, probably just like a fader. And I had a record player, but it wasn't like a TT-1200 or anything. It was just a home record player. And I'd take the band off so I could scratch and move shit backwards. And then I had a CD player as the other input. So I would take a song and I just would record these just live. And then I sent him one that I still had, I think as a DM on Instagram, but it would be like Purple Haze, Jimi Hendrix on CD, the guitar intro, and then like the Far Side, which sampled the song.
Yes.
And then I would put those two together. It was like early Girl Talk, basically.
Yeah.
Like before I found out who Girl Talk was,
Yeah.
I was kind of doing that like back in the day. Terrible version of it. But
You're trying,
some
though.
of my best old vinyl is all fucked up on the label. It's all got like scratch marks from me like doing stuff like that.
Manipulating,
because
yeah.
it wasn't on a turntable that was
Yes.
meant to be like scratched.
Yeah.
So I have like Ruthless Records versions of like Easy and like NWA and DOC, like Funky Enough, like with just like horrible scratch marks on the middle.
God, shout out to DOC.
Yeah. Dallas.
I know. He's definitely one of those like what could have been.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Because that first record,
It was a banger.
Dude.
Yeah.
his delivery, and it was wild because for the longest, like, I mean, this was like not like I didn't just find out, but maybe a couple years later, after that first record came out, I found out he was from Dallas.
Yeah.
Maybe not even 2 years, maybe a year.
I don't know the
after.
connection between how he got discovered by Dre or whatever, that whole thing, but like
I forgot.
I knew he was Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah,
And also, too bad you're gonna die now. MC
What, in Dallas? Like
another Dallas DJ, MC. Who am I thinking of?
What?
Too bad you're gonna die now. Too bad.
Is it MC
900 Foot Jesus? Yes.
Yeah, and DJ Zero.
I have that old 12-inch, and he's a Dallas guy. Yeah.
Dallas kind of had it going on with MC 900 Foot Jesus, and what was the other one? Decadent Dub Team that had a track on the Color soundtrack.
Yeah.
Is
that probably Deep LM clubs?
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Baby G, like a big hip hop DJ, in Dallas in the late '80s, early '90s. They had it going on for a while.
Yeah. DOC was always one of the best. So 97.9 was like our rap station in Houston. Like it's still around, I think, but it was like Willie D was on there from Ghetto Boys. He had a segment, and Reg in Effect would do the thunderstorm, and would always have like thunder in between like the cuts and all that. And I have a lot of those tapes too, like recorded of Reg's sets. And for some reason, Funky Enough always was the best live remixed cuts. It was the bass. It was like the instrumental, and then his vocals mixed into it always so well. Like for whatever reason, that song just always did so well where they were like mixing his vocals over that instrumental.
Yeah,
you've done it before because it's a classic, like that song. But
it's Funky Enough.
Yeah,
the way they flipped that silver sample, dude, that song is just a banger.
It is,
and just the way his delivery. Yeah, I mean,
it's got a little Jamaica, obviously. Yeah.
In my opinion, he was better than any of the NWA guys. Yep, hands down. Yep. Right.
A lot of people thought that. Yeah.
And
then he had a throat issue.
Yeah, he got into a car wreck or something like that, and crushed his throat, and it was just never the same after that. I think, and then I think he, I don't know if he had a kid with Erykah Badu. I think he's also, one of Erykah Badu's baby daddies. So.
Did she come through the Dallas?
She's
music?
From Dallas.
Yeah, the music performing. Washington Performing Arts High School or whatever that is. Yeah.
Downtown. Chris Brody that you mentioned earlier, he used to work at a record store over in Deep Ellum called Last Beat Records. Okay. And so there was a coffee shop next door that I would always go to. Yeah. To get coffee when I'm visiting Chris at the record store. But yeah, Erykah worked at that coffee house. I mean, she probably served me and I just didn't know. And this is like pre-fame Erykah Badu. So yeah. Shout out to Erykah Badu, who definitely reps Dallas to the fullest. Yeah. You know what I mean? No, seriously.
Nice.
Like, I think everyone who's from Dallas, they rep that town hard.
Oh, yeah.
They're not like, okay, well, I don't really want to say that I'm from Dallas. You know what I mean? It's always,
true.
It's all or nothing.
Yep.
Right? So, anyways, man, thank you for your time. Thank you for being so generous, and
super
and being
fun.
Here.
I mean,
I told you it'd fly by.
Yeah, it really has. I can't believe it's 2 hours, but my wife always says the two things that I love talking about most are music and Austin. So this was the combo of both with people who also obviously like to talk about those subjects.
Yeah, I knew that. Like I knew that you were going to be a great guest here. Just from the DMs that you've sent me and when you talk about being just the Texas connection, all that kind of stuff. Longhorn Nation, all that kind of stuff. I just knew our connection personally with with Jay, Vicky, Chris, and what have you. I just knew that you would be a fantastic guest.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, and come by the South by party. It's coming up. It's the best time of year at GSD&M. It's like we always have that Monday night party, and so you don't have to be performing to come over there and enjoy it.
Just say when, and I'm there.
Yeah, awesome.
So let the folks know where they can find you online, and maybe tell us a little bit about GSD&M and their online presence.
Yeah. GSDM.com is the website. Full service agency, been in Austin since 1971. Southwest Airlines for almost the whole tenure of their time. I currently run Capital One, so the work we do for that account. I'm online at Brewer Scott on almost every platform that I haven't gotten some account deleted from or something. But yeah, Instagram is my home base. It's been the one that I'm like, okay, I'm in on Instagram. I'm not going to spend too much time on TikTok and everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, Facebook, I'm kind of like weaning off. So love Instagram. I'm just like a visual person. So anything having to do with photos, videos, music is why I love it. So find me there. And yeah, it's been fun.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, awesome.
Scott, thank you so much for being on the Sounder First podcast.